Good morning, everyone. Today on Expectations Gap, we're joined by Robert Wilson, author of In Search of the Master Prompt. Robert has spent decades as a writer and a storyteller, and in his latest work, he explores how AI isn't just about automation, it is about imagination. His approach treats prompts not as shortcuts, but as keys to unlocking the unique stories only you can tell. With a background shaped by personal journeys of rediscovery, resilience, and creativity, Robert brings both wisdom and warmth to a conversation that sits at the heart of this podcast. How do we bridge the gap between human creativity and machine assistance? Robert, I'm honored to have you on Expectations Gap.
And I am to be here.
So, your book, In Search of the Master Prompt, suggests that prompts are more than instructions. They are keys to unlocking creativity. What personal story led you to explore prompts in that way?
Um, as far as my personal story, um, I started writing again several years ago due to finding out about not being the man who raised me wasn't my father. So that led to me starting to write a book. And as I was writing it, everybody gets stuck. You get writer's block. And I was looking for different ways, and I saw suggestions about using AI. And when I first started using it, I didn't like it. And I realized that I was getting very mechanical answers to my questions or my prompts. So I started making them much more elaborate. Eventually, I got to where I realized that I can use it to jog my memory or to enhance an idea. And it really broke that writer's block. It it was it really became more of a collaborator than just a tool. I turned it into me, I guess, is what I tried to do.
How are you able to do this? So what was the sequence of actions you took to try to?
It was a whole bunch. There was definitely a learning curve. Um, I'm not the most tech savvy guy in the world, but little by little, I began to realize that the more of me I put into it, and the more that I told it, this is the way I want this to be. This is my voice. This is the way I write. So I started writing, for lack of a better word, small essays and short stories, and feeding them into the AI and telling them, this is my style. I don't write like Stephen King. I'm not Dean Koontz. I'm not J.K. Rowling. This is my stuff. This is what I do. And I told it, learn these documents, learn this style, this syntax, have you, whatever. And little by little, it did that. Um, I still, even to this day, get things back that you still have to look at and go, no, that's not quite right. And it takes a little fine tuning. But for the most part, it began to do what I do.
And so just this is for me personally, honestly. So the you have it then on one chat, all the history, or when you open different chats, it's also getting the information, or it's able to answer you on that way,
Yes.
or if all the history has to be in some place.
Yeah, it does. Um, the different systems, depending on what you're using, whether it's ChatGPT or um, I use the BookDaddy platform quite a bit. Uh, they will have a thread where they will remember. And you can actually, if you switch threads, you can carry it over to a new thread and it will remember what you're doing. Um, and it will build on that. But you can't, a lot of times you'll be going through a thread, it starts to slow down. And when it starts to do that, it starts dropping stuff off out of the thread that you began to teach it. And you have to refresh it and you have to continuously remind it and talk to it just the way you were in that last thread and 3 threads ago and 10 threads ago or 100 threads ago. Um, it just, and gradually, little by little, I can turn it on now. And as soon as I turn it on, I say, good morning. It says, good morning, Robert. How are you today? What are we doing? Do you want to start with this, or do you want to delve into something a little more relaxed, or you want to get right back to, so
So
it's become more of a companion or a collaborator that never sleeps than anything.
Okay, so if you like, I would say, how do you personally define AI when you're seeing it through this lens? You say it's more of a companion, or it's
It's a
what is it
tool.
becoming for you? Okay.
It's definitely a tool. And just like any, I was raised in construction. I used lots and lots of tools. When I started working in construction, they didn't have pneumatic nailers. Everything was, hammering by hand. And, there's people that say that if you're using AI, you're no longer a writer. I say an artist is an artist as long as they're creating something that, regardless of the tools, it's the creation. Now, if you're relying solely on AI and not editing, which I do quite heavily, um, then you're really not writing anything. I actually commented on somebody online that was showing how you can write a complete book and do the cover and all this other stuff, and it's market ready. And I said, well, if you're not editing, if you're not fact checking, if you're not basically doing anything to verify the facts or to make it yours, then you're not the writer. You've just reached out to somebody and said, hey, write this for me, and taking whatever they got and sold it. So you're not the creator, it is. And if we do that, we run the risk of losing our humanity. So it's a like I said, it's a tool. It's something that helps me be a better writer. It helps me stay on task. It helps me fine tune my ideas because it'll tell me something. It's like, well, that's not the way that sounded the last time you wrote it. Are you sure you want to do this? And it will pick up on, because of how much I fed in of the things I wrote, it will pick up on whether or not I've gotten off track on the way I do things, or gone off on a tangent. So it really keeps me, I guess, focused while I'm writing. And it will actually jog, ideas and new thoughts and a different trajectory to take the story and those types of things.
So you build up the characters completely, and then when you're writing the story, it can also fact check with the build up of the character that you wrote, for example, that
Yes,
it does.
I create PDFs of the characters,
Mhm.
um, you know, names, ages, uh, where they live, what their culture is, all of it, everything about them. Um, whether they have little quirks, or the way they might talk, or what kind of accent they might have, or uh, anything that you possibly put into a character build up, I'll make a PDF of it. And then I load those up, and I have a character file, and it's like, here you go. These are the characters of this. We're going to be building this story, whatever it might be, and it will resource back to that. And if I get out, well, this character Linda didn't say that, or she wouldn't have said it that way according to what you said. And a lot of times, I'd say probably 99% of the time, it's correct. I've missed something. So
And so you're getting someone to review the work while you're already writing it, and then it's the editing is continuous, the review is continuous. So in the end,
correct.
it's kind
Yep.
of okay.
And
That's
then at the very end, human editors go through it line by line, everything. So
okay. And did you encounter any big expectation gaps moments when AI either fell short or surprised you with unexpected kind of brilliance in the review process, or you were like, okay, that's very, very interesting. It would add a twist to the story, or not?
um, in the beginning, there was a canyon-sized gap because it's when I first started using it, I realized that AI was geared towards marketing and martech, um, and people were using it for the stock market and basically creating little robots that do these little tasks, and they fed a bunch of information into it about hooks and what triggers people to buy and all that type of thing as far as marketing goes, and that's what they taught it to do. And the vast majority, I mean, probably close to 100% of it, that's what the AIs were doing. And, little office tasks and that type of thing. There was very, very little for creative writers. And what was out there, there was, books like 5,000 creative writing prompts. Well, that's great. They're somebody else's prompts. They're not you. You didn't bring them up. They're not in your voice. They're not in your style. They're not in anything having to do with you. So, you get 10,000 people that want to be creative writers writing buying that book. and they're all using the same prompts, which means they're all producing similar results. So that was a huge gap, and that's not what I wanted. And as I taught it to write in my style and use my voice and uh, kind of my thought process of the way I break things down, that gap got smaller. Uh, I think probably the biggest aha moment was when I was doing some stuff and my wife was looking over my shoulder at the screen and she's like, "That's creepy." I was like, "What?" She's like, "It's like you're talking to your best friend." And I was like, I said, "Well, maybe. I mean, sometimes I even yell at it, but um, not physically, but type in all caps, that kind of thing."
Yeah.
But I think that was probably the biggest gap was bridging that from AI programming and the algorithm with AI to giving it a more human like interaction, as far as not making it human, but understanding what it was for me, what my human experience was, what my viewpoint and all of that was. Once I closed that up, uh, that's when the gap narrowed significantly. And I still get them every now and then. So,
Yeah, and so, but this gap you didn't only bridge for yourself. This gap you wrote a book about. And this is what's very inspiring about it. It's like you found the gap, you try to work it out for yourself, you try to find the prompts. Um, so I read a bit of the book, not all of it, I have to be honest. But I like the part where like a good prompt steers a question that matters, a great prompt steers a question you might be afraid to answer. That's cool because sometimes you really don't want to answer some things. So, or sometimes you are blocked in a way you don't want to go to that area. And maybe talking it out or like texting about it with a best friend or even a kind of a um, artificial best friend as well would work, that it triggers some new ideas for the story or twists for it and makes you explore a place where you didn't want to go first, but then when you explore it you feel that there was a kind of revelation there or something. What?
sure. Um, that happens. It's a lot of times writers get locked into, especially creative writers. This is the path I'm doing, and they call it a hero's path in a book, where you have an antagonist, a protagonist, the love interest, whatever it may be. Um, I saw somebody one time said that Harry Potter was just Star Wars with really bad lightsabers, and if you match the character, the context of the characters across, it matches up almost perfectly. So every story follows a similar path. How you build that, what the content is of it, is where the creativity comes in. Um, Very, very rarely do you have someone write a story that's completely out of the norm. Um, they all have that map that they try to stay fairly close to. With the AI, what I found is if I get to a certain point and I'm going somewhere, my AI will actually say, "What if you did this?" or "What if they said that?" I'll ask it. Hey, I'm trying to figure out a scene here. This is the location. This is who's present in the scene. These characters. I know that I kind of would like to have this outcome. What do you think? And I'll start to type in the scene, and it will correct me. I'll say, okay, this is what I have, and I use it more to clean things up and to organize my thoughts, because just like all writers, I don't write, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You'll write a paragraph for chapter 2, and then you get an idea about another character that's in chapter 10, and you start writing on that. So in the end, it's good because it helps me keep track of that. Um, it's even asked me, well, I thought we were just talking about so and so. It's like, well, you're right. I get back on task, but it will give me ideas. And it's like, no, I don't want to do that. Or, that's something I didn't think of. I should try that. Or the interaction, I'll have specific characters and their interaction might be with, an elderly shopkeeper or whatever it might be. And the AI will actually suggest, do you have any other ideas for this? And it will suggest paths to take. Instead of an elderly shopkeeper, it's, you know, uh, a foreign cab driver or whatever it might be that's going on in the scene. So it helps.
So another quote that really caught my attention, where you say AI might may quicken the work, but only you can breathe life into it, the flame, so that it can then do what you're saying, that it can organize your thoughts from here to there when you're jumping between characters. But in the end, even when it organizes your thoughts, even when it helps you in that, you are the one who's breathing the life into the flame. It's very, very interesting
It's
regarding the
absolutely
part
true.
where originality and authenticity. So for the people who are fearing AI, what can you tell them regarding this part? Like, how can they get a little bit more in peace and make like that they are also comfortable with it, and that they are also they know how to that bring their authenticity or have their touch, and that it will not dilute their originality in the end.
I guess the best way I could describe that is, say that you're a writing teacher, a literature teacher, and you have 30 students and you tell them all to write a story about something. And everybody has to write a story about the same thing. You're going to get a lot of different things. A lot of them are going to be similar, but there's only going to be a few that stand out. And that's kind of like with AI. Um, the AI can write the same as 30 students, but you are the one that takes a story and puts the human touch in it. AI can't create feelings. It can write out text, but the emotion of it, only we know how the emotion feels and how to discuss something or convey that. The AI is only going based on what its knowledge base is, but it doesn't have emotions. It doesn't feel. It has no soul. Only we can put that into the story, and that's where that human touch is. Too many people nowadays, and it's gotten where it's really bad. Just like the example I used earlier, are relying on the AI to produce stuff just to make content for content. They're not building anything of any lasting quality or value. And what I would say to writers is, don't fear the tool. Learn how to use it. Um, make it yours. Make it your. You know, it's yours. It's just like teaching a dog tricks or instructing a child or anything in the beginning. You have to teach it what's right and wrong or what you think is right and wrong. Um, as far as the fear factor goes, there's a lot of people out there that say, "Oh, AI is going to take over the world. It's an evil thing." Blah blah blah. And I think we talked about this before. And I said, AI only does what we teach it. If we want a better world, teach it to help us create a better world. If you want better writing, teach it to help us create better writing. It doesn't matter what it is. I mean, you look at stock traders; they taught it to be better stock traders, and they benefit from it. It's how you approach it. If we teach it to do bad, we teach it to, you know, see humanity as a bad thing or whatever. That's what we're going to get out of it. So really, it falls upon humanity
So,
itself to. Go ahead.
regarding the ethical concerns that exist around AI in general, so you were one of the believers that it
Yep, you're breaking
all
up there a little bit.
then falls on the person using it, or should there be kind of laws or arrangements in the communities and in the countries and states so to organize it as well?
You broke up there on your first part of your conversation. This
So I was asking regarding the ethical part of the AI. Like, do you then see that it's a personal responsibility that each one needs to then be responsible for their use of AI, or especially from the writer's perspective and the content that the writers have, or is there a way as well for the law to interfere there to set up uh, certain regulations on how to use AI within also the creative world?
within the creative work, I think it falls upon the individual authors. If you're writing, nonfiction, instructional manuals and using AI to do it, I think there should be some guidelines. I think you have to verify your facts. You have to put human eyes and human hands on it and make sure that the information you're putting out there is 100% correct. Um, I think that you're always going to have people that'll use it for nefarious reasons, whatever those might be. Um, Can they regulate it to some degree? I don't know. You're bordering on the question of censorship. So I think mostly it falls on the individual and their ethical and moral character. Are you going to do something the right way, or are you going to choose? Because that's what it is. You choose to do it the wrong way, and most of the people who are doing it for personal gain or financial gain or whatever it may be. But I think those people will be flushed out. Um, readers know when they're reading something if somebody's put their heart and soul into it and it means something, or if it's I was watching an editor that I watched a lot of times. She has a YouTube channel, and um, she said most of the time, literary agents and stuff, they'll know after the first 3 to 5 pages whether they want to read the rest of the book or not. And I think that's what's going to happen. AI is going to get to the point where you're not going to be able to distinguish whether it was written by a human or written by AI. And how soon that's going to happen, who knows? It improves by leaps and bounds daily. But I still think that human beings are going to know. I don't think they're going to be able to not know because there's just certain things that you have to do yourself as the writer. You just have to.
Yeah, breathe into the flame. So, yeah. So, if there is one lesson from In Search of the Master Prompt that you want writers or even non-writers to take with them on their AI journey, what would it be?
I think the biggest lesson would be to not be afraid to explore. Um, I wrote it for not just creative writers. I wrote it for people who write, period. I think that content and everything has to be, have a human touch on it. And if you're going to be using AI, you need to do it correctly. It's not, it's not going to reach out and bite you or anything like that. One of my quotes in there is the prompt opens the door. A master prompt builds the entire hallway. And that's where the learning how to correct it and do things the right way comes in. Learn how to master the prompts. Learn how to put your voice into it. Make it yours. Get it to respond back to you. Hey, good morning. How are you today? That kind of thing. Um, Without that, your flow isn't working. If you always feel like you're working with a robot, you're going to become very mechanical in your actions. If you feel like you're working with a collaborator that has ideas that can jog your memory, that improves upon what you're doing, then it's going to be something good. But in all things, you have to have an ethical and moral approach. You have to understand that it's a tool and you have to use it the right way. That's what it is. I think I like the freedom to be able to put a prompt in that I've created and have a multitude of options come back to me. And I can then turn around and look, I can tell my systems that, no, this is not the direction I want to go. I like, 1, 3, 4, and 7, you know, let's explore these channels. Um, just don't be afraid. Don't, don't view it as an evil thing. AI is what we make it. Make it yours. That would be my best advice.
That's a perfect quote to end up with. Thank you so much, Robert, for your time and for the interesting conversation. It's completely different than what we had in Expectations Gap before because it was always related to data. Now we're unlocking the creativity and the creative world with you. And yeah, so thank you so much and have a lovely day and a good
You
morning.
as well. Thank you for having me.